Before I go on, I want you to note that this video contains mature themes. This video explores sensitive topics which include infidelity and its impact. So viewer discretion is advised. It started as a banter. Otis Preston, my husband, 37 years old, competitive to his core, was deep into a FIFA match with his friends that night. The kind of night where the air buzzes with energy, where grown men turn into teenage boys again, shouting at the TV, cursing out virtual players, and throwing jabs at each other like it's a sport of its own. A few beers in, and the room was thick with that familiar mix of adrenaline and playful aggression. The stakes? A little money, but mostly pride. I wasn't there, but Otis later told me how it all unraveled. One of the guys, already bitter from losing match after match, finally snapped. His frustration needed a target, and instead of blaming his own lack of skill, he went low. "Well, you may be winning here," he scoffed, tossing his controller onto the couch, "but at least I'm not the one paying for my wife's gym membership every month with no visible results." The room, once filled with rowdy banter, fell into an awkward silence. It was the kind of comment that could have just been another throwaway jab, one that would get brushed off, laughed about, and forgotten as soon as the next goal was scored. But some words stick. Some words cut deeper than they should. And this one? This one planted a seed in Otis' mind. One that would grow into something neither of us could ignore. My name is Indy Watkins, 35 years old, 5 feet 6 inches and around 190 pounds, curvy. Otis said the guy's comment didn't bother him much at first, but the comment lingered in his mind. For 8 months, he had been covering my gym fees, and I had been religiously attending, morning and sometimes evening. Yet, my weight hadn't changed. It was the first time he actually thought about it. That night when I got home, he brought it up in a joking manner, but I saw something else behind his words. I froze. I don't know if it was guilt or fear, but I couldn't muster a response. Instead, I walked away, hoping to escape the conversation. But deep down, I knew I had just given myself away. The paranoia must have eaten him up because, within days, he had found a way to investigate me. He never told me how exactly, but he had proof. He had receipts, timestamps, locations, everything. He knew I wasn't spending extra hours at the gym. He knew where I was and who I was with. Then came the confrontation. The moment that changed everything. "I know you've been cheating on me." My knees gave out before I even processed my own reaction. I dropped down before him, not knowing whether to beg, deny, or just let the truth sink us both. I looked into his eyes and saw nothing but pain, deep, unfiltered pain. It wasn't anger, just the heartbreak of a man who had sacrificed so much for me. He had quit his job, the one that kept him traveling, just so he could be home with me. And this was how I repaid him. So, I lied. I swore on everything that I hadn't done it. I told him people wanted to destroy what we had. I pleaded with him to ignore their lies. But when he pulled out the evidence, I had nothing left to say. I collapsed onto the couch, sobbing, but he didn't even care to look at me anymore. The moment he saw the truth in my silence, it was over. It wasn't supposed to happen. It started with innocent conversations, and casual flirtations that I never imagined would go anywhere. The first time I met Nash McCullough, my trainer, I was skeptical about the whole gym idea. I had joined out of a vague sense of obligation. Otis had been so supportive, encouraging me to live a healthier lifestyle. Nash was charismatic, confident, and had an energy that instantly made you feel seen. Unlike Otis, who was always so steady, so predictable, Nash had a reckless, exciting aura about him. The first few weeks were nothing special. He corrected my form, gave me meal plans, and kept me accountable. But then came the compliments. Subtle at first. He'd tell me I was making progress, even when I saw none. He'd notice little things, how my skin glowed, how my posture improved. And I thrived on it. I started looking forward to my sessions, to his touch when he adjusted my stance, to the way he would linger just a second too long when spotting me. Then, one evening, everything changed. It was a late session, and the gym was nearly empty. I was exhausted, sitting on the mat after an intense workout, and he sat beside me. We talked, really talked. About life, about frustrations, about feeling trapped in routines. He told me I was special, that he saw something in me no one else did. One moment we were talking, the next, his lips were on mine. I should have pulled away. I should have stopped it right there. But I didn't. Because for the first time in a long time, I felt something electric. It was wrong, and I knew it, but I wanted more. One kiss turned into late-night messages, into stolen moments after gym sessions, into excuses to see him outside of the gym. Before I knew it, I was sneaking out under the pretense of evening workouts, when in reality, I was meeting him in his apartment, tangled in sheets, losing myself in a kind of passion I hadn't felt in years. I told myself I'd stop. After every encounter, guilt gnawed at me. Otis had given up so much for me. He loved me deeply, unconditionally. And yet, I was betraying him in the worst way possible. But I was addicted, to Nash, to the thrill, to the attention that made me feel desirable again. Then, that night happened. When Otis confronted me, it was like my entire world collapsed. I tried to lie, to deny, but he already knew. Seeing the devastation in his eyes was worse than any punishment. That night, he left the house. I later heard he drank himself into oblivion, crashed his car, and got arrested for the first time in his life. And I was the reason why. The pain I caused him haunts me. Not because I lost him, but because I destroyed the one person who truly gave his all to me. I took his trust, crushed it, and left him doubting if love was ever meant for him. And honestly, I don't know if I even deserve love after what I did to him. It's been months since that night, and I still think about him every single day. I replay everything in my mind, the words, the silence, the devastation in his eyes. I wonder if he's healing or if I left an irreparable wound in him. I didn't cheat because I stopped loving him. That's the painful part. I cheated because something in me was broken, something I didn't even know how to fix. Maybe it was boredom, maybe it was selfishness, or maybe I just wanted to feel desired by someone new. But no excuse could ever justify what I did. I stopped feeling like myself 6 weeks after giving birth to our daughter. I went for a postnatal appointment, and my doctor confirmed that everything was fine physically. That night, Otis and I had for the first time since the birth. But along the way, I blurted out, "Oh, it's different, isn't it? I'm no longer as tight as before." His response? Yeah, well, it's tight, but not like before." That comment hurt me more than I expected. I went silent. A part of me tried to convince myself that everything was okay because he finished quickly. It didn't take long at all. But deep down, doubt crept in. Was I wrong to think he didn't notice? He must have sensed my discomfort because he asked if it hurt. He said I looked uncomfortable and that he didn't want me to feel any pain. I was already upset, already spiraling, and in that moment, I snapped. That was the worst I've ever had in my life. The truth was, it had been uncomfortable. It had hurt. But I had kept quiet because I wanted things to go back to the way they were before. I wanted to feel normal again. I wanted him to want me without hesitation, without noticing a difference, without making me feel like I was less than I used to be. I told him I felt insecure. I even joked, "I hope it's not like throwing a sausage down a hallway." And all he did was laugh. He didn't agree, but he didn't disagree either. That laugh stayed with me. It echoed in my mind for days. After that, I lost all motivation. I didn't want to do anything anymore. The fact that my husband had noticed a difference between before and after birth, whether he meant harm or not, cut deeper than I could admit. Of course, he noticed. I had just given birth. But still, the thought consumed me. I went online, searching desperately for ways to tighten up, to lose weight, to make myself attractive again in his eyes. I wanted to be the woman I used to be, the woman he married, the woman he desired without hesitation. That's how it started. When I joined the gym, I asked my trainer, Nash, all these questions. How to regain muscle strength down there, how to improve my body, how to be better. He suggested Kegel exercises and other methods to improve bedroom activity. And in those conversations, he found my weakness. He saw my insecurities, my desperation, my need for validation. And he used them against me. He modified his approach, gradually chipping away at my self-doubt, making himself seem like the solution to a problem I didn't even fully understand. And it worked. But all for nothing. At first, I tried to move on. I told myself Otis would be fine, that he would eventually find someone better and be happy again. But as the days turned into weeks, I realized I was the one drowning. The guilt weighed on me heavier than I ever imagined. No amount of justifications, distractions, or empty reassurances could take away the pain of knowing I had destroyed the one person who once trusted me with his whole heart. I remember the last time we spoke. It wasn't a conversation, it was a single sentence from him. "I don't hate you," he said, his voice hollow, "but I'll never forgive you." That was the last piece of closure I got. I tried reaching out a few times, but he never responded. Maybe it was better that way. Maybe I needed to live with what I did, to carry the consequences of my actions without expecting him to help me find peace. I wonder if he still drinks. If he still wakes up in the middle of the night replaying everything like I do. I wonder if he's found someone else or if I've ruined him so badly that he can't trust anyone again. And worst of all, I wonder if he still loves me even after everything. But I know better than to ask. Because if I were him, I'd never want to hear from me again either. If you made it this far, I know my story has struck a chord with you. Hit the like and subscribe buttons. Also, turn on the notification bell and comment. These help us reach a wider audience. See you in the next video.